In the heart of a forgotten town, far from the bustling cities and noise of modern life, lies an abandoned stretch of train tracks. The townspeople avoid it. They whisper about the old tracks, speaking of a tragedy that happened many years ago. A train crash that claimed the lives of many, leaving the tracks to rot, forgotten by time. But if you listen closely, if you stand there at midnight, some say you can hear the distant sound of a train. A train that hasn't run for years. A train that might not be of this world at all. This is the story of the midnight train. A ghostly specter that still roams the tracks, and the terrifying rule that no one should ever break. If you hear the train, don't look back. The town once thrived on these tracks. It was the lifeblood of the community, a vital railway that connected the town to nearby cities, bringing goods, visitors, and news. But all that changed on a stormy night years ago, when a devastating accident occurred. The train was heading toward the town, its whistle cutting through the howling wind and rain. But something went wrong. The train, loaded with passengers and freight, derailed just past the old bridge, crashing violently into the side of the hill. The crash was so violent that it left the ground scorched, and the wreckage of the train lay scattered for miles. The town was never the same after that night. The accident claimed the lives of many, and the railroad company abandoned the tracks soon after. To this day, no one knows exactly what caused the accident. Some say the storm played a part. Others whisper of strange occurrences that night. Rumors of a shadowy figure seen standing at the tracks before the crash. But the official records remain inconclusive. The tracks were left to rot, but that's not the end of the story. Because while the trains may have stopped running, the whispers never ceased. The locals still talk about the sounds of a train at midnight, a sound that shouldn't exist, but is all too real for those who dare to listen. Over the years, the legend of the midnight train has taken root in the town's folklore. It's a story passed down by word of mouth, told to every new generation of children, and shared in hushed tones around campfires. It's said that if you stand by the tracks at midnight and wait long enough, you'll hear the distant sound of a train approaching. But no one alive has ever seen it. Those who ventured to the tracks after dark have spoken of hearing the faint rumble of the wheels, the low, eerie whistle in the distance, and the flickering lights of headlights just beyond the trees. The ghostly train, many claim, runs as it did the night of the accident, reenacting the fateful journey as though time itself is repeating. But here's the catch. The train isn't just a sound. It's said that if you hear the train coming, you must never look back. For those who have looked back, well, they're never seen again. The first recorded disappearance happened shortly after the crash. A young man named Elias was known for his curiosity. He didn't believe in ghosts or legends. One night, he went to the tracks, just to prove that the midnight train was a mere myth. He stood there, waiting as the clock struck 12. And when the sound of the approaching train filled the air, he turned around to see if it was real. No one saw him again. As time passed, more people disappeared, always at midnight, always after hearing the sound of the train. It became a warning that even the bravest dared not ignore. Never look back. In the years since the accidents and the strange disappearances, the town has become a quiet place, one where people avoid the tracks at all costs. Even on the darkest of nights, when the moon is hidden and the wind is still, there are those who claim to have heard the ghostly whistle of the train, the sound of its wheels clacking over the rails, just as they did all those years ago. But the most unsettling part of the legend? No one has ever actually seen the train. Only the sound remains, an ominous reminder of a tragedy that refuses to let go. Some people say the midnight train is the souls of those who died in the crash, doomed to forever reenact the final moments of their journey. Others claim it's a curse, an echo of a night that can never be forgotten. But no matter the explanation, one thing is certain. Once you hear the train, there's no turning back. One night, a young woman named Clara heard the stories from the locals. Intrigued by the legend, she set out with her friends to the tracks, determined to see if it was true. As the clock struck midnight, she and her friends stood in silence, waiting for the sound. At first, there was nothing, just the wind rustling through the trees. But then, a distant rumble filled the air. It started as a low, ominous hum, and quickly grew louder, like the roar of an approaching locomotive. Her friends, terrified, urged her to leave, but Clara stood her ground. The sound was unmistakable. The midnight train was coming. But just as the train seemed to be upon them, Clara's curiosity got the best of her. She turned to look behind her, just for a moment, and then she was gone. Her friends never saw her again. They searched the area for hours, calling out her name, but there was no sign of Clara. It said that when you hear the train, you must never, ever look back. Because once you do, the midnight train claims you, taking you into the shadows, where you'll disappear without a trace. And so, the legend of the midnight train continues. The sound of the train haunts the town, a chilling reminder of the lives lost and the warnings that go unheeded. For those who dare to venture to the tracks, the risk is high and the consequences are even higher. If you ever find yourself in that small, forgotten town, and you hear the distant whistle of a train at midnight, remember this: never look back. Because if you do, you may just become part of the legend yourself. Thank you for joining me on this haunting journey. If you enjoyed this tale of mystery and the supernatural, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories from the darker corners of the world. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and remember, some legends are better left untouched.